one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll call?
Tonight's roll call: Hornseth,
Present.
Charbonneau,
Here.
Staggs,
Here.
Ullman is excused, Monaco,
Here.
Verhey is excused, and Chair Sullivan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing is citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Is anybody signed in?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, anybody in the audience have anything to say? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, then we'll move on to the next thing. It's the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. And I'll need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda? Anybody have anything to offer? No? Okay, Madam Clerk, can you give us a roll call for the agenda, please?
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda: Monaco,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved, and approved on tonight's consent agenda are the November 8th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to approval of special orders and presentations and reports. And it looks like we have no proclamations, awards, or any of the other reports on there. So I'll move it over to the Community Development Director, Jason Bickling.
Yep, and I will just keep it brief, but I just want to say thank you for your participation last night in that special meeting. I actually thought it went really well, and it was kind of unique in the way that was done. And so I hope we do get to do that again with council as we kind of tackle other issues. And so I just appreciate all your hard work and input on that whole long short-term rental regulation process. So
Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate you guys. That's it.
Okay, well, then we'll move on to new business, and that one will be, we'll start out with public hearings on, let's see, the first resolution is 2022-27. Madam Clerk, could you read the title into the record?
Resolution 2022-027 is recommending City Council amend portions of Seward City Code 15.25 floodplain management, adopting recommended language and regulations from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This resolution had a public hearing on November 8th, 2022, was postponed, and is coming back tonight for a second public hearing and approval.
Okay, thank you. I'll need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, I should have said your main motion is on the floor because it was postponed, so you're fine.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, if it's already on there, then we'll just go on to administration. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, if you'll remember, we've been working with our FEMA representative to update our floodplain code. And at the last meeting on November 8th, we had the model, or the proposed ordinance before you, but we hadn't received all the feedback yet from the floodplain FEMA, or the FEMA representative. So we did finally receive his feedback and have implemented it into this ordinance before you. Changes in the ordinance are all in red. And there's nothing major that changes except adding in a few more regulations around, foundations and the different types of flood hazard zones. So.
And this was the items that we discussed when we had that joint meeting
Correct,
as well,
with the flood
full up,
board.
and that's everything that she had provided. I noticed that you also have a lot here that's been deleted, and that's the manufactured homes portion.
Correct.
On that.
And so our discussion with the FEMA representative on that issue is if there are no manufactured homes within city limits and they aren't allowed to be constructed, then we can remove that from our code.
Okay, commissioners?
Yeah, I have a Couple comments. I'd like to make a motion to amend on page 28, section E. As I,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair, but we need to have the public hearing before amendments
Oh,
can be made.
okay, yep. I apologize. Got launched right into that. Okay, do we have anybody for the public hearing at this time? Anybody have?
No one is signed in.
No? Anybody would like to speak to that at all, or? Okay. Okay, if that's the case, then I guess I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of that. And are there any comments from the commissioners?
yes, I would like to make a motion to amend section E on page 28, where it talks about the recreational vehicles. All these three sections here, and as I hear you only need to conform to one of them, but the phrasing, all recreational vehicles placed on the site shall, kind of leads me to believe you need to do all of them. So I would like to change it to shall meet one of the following criteria. Clear it up a little bit.
Okay, is there
What,
a,
I'm sorry, what page? I didn't-
28?
27.
Oh, sorry, it's 28 on my thing.
on the computer?
I'm sorry. I will need you to repeat that. I'm sorry, I didn't get it because I couldn't find it.
Okay. Yeah, so section D at the top of, on the computer, 28, and I think in the
Hard
packet
copy
it's
is 27.
27. Where it says all recreational vehicles shall, all recreational vehicles placed on site shall, I'd like to add to that, meet one of the following criteria.
Okay,
To me, it just seems like you need to do all of them, but you actually need to only do
do one of them, okay. Madam Clerk, do we have to necessarily have a
That's great.
second for that?
Yeah.
Okay, would somebody like to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Some further discussion? Okay. And no other discussion by any commissioners? Then I guess I will go ahead and call for the vote.
Okay, voting on the amendment to update language in recreation vehicles. Monaco,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That amendment is approved.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. The next public hearing item is Resolution 2023
Your main motion is back on the floor.
Still on the main motion.
the main motion, all right. And then which one of the main motion is that 2022-27?
Correct.
Oh, we're voting on, okay. If that's still on the floor, then anything, I'm not sure what we have to do now if we're
Any other discussion or amendments?
on the discussions. I thought we, okay. Jason?
Madam Chair, we do have kind of a housekeeping item as we're going through and looking at where we place in the city of Seward and those types of items. On page 16, at least on the, I don't know what the packet 16, it's the number, page 16, but where it says the firm panels, the FIS and firm panels are available for viewing at, we would like to strike the Public Works Building and place at City Hall.
Okay. Let me get to that.
If someone could make those.
You said that's on page 16.
16?
Yeah, 16,
17 would be.
yeah, 16, 17, so it's that, it's general provisions, falls under general provisions B, the last sentence in red.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just want to strike Public Works and change it to City Hall?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend that section to strike Public Works and replace it with City Hall.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Further discussion on that? Okay, I guess we'll vote on the amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Voting on that amendment to update general provisions language. Monaco,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That amendment is approved and your main motion is back on the floor.
Okay. Do we have anything else for that? We'll make a vote on the main motion now. Everybody's
I'm good.
good to go?
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2022-027 as amended. Hornseth,
Yes.
Monaco,
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Okay. I can go to the next one now, right? Okay. All right, the next public hearing item is Resolution 2023-001. Madam Clerk, will you read the title into the record?
Resolution 2023-001 is recommending Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary replat of Gateway Subdivision, Addition Number 2, Tracts C4, C5, C6, and C7, Tract C4, located at 2104 Olympia Road, creating.
Okay, I'll need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-001.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, administration, do you have any comments?
Yes. So on November 28th, 2022, the City Council approved Resolution 2022-116, which authorized the city manager to approve the developer reimbursement application for the Hilltop Properties Improvement District. This authorized the expenditure of about $4 million for water, sewer, and electric improvements, roads, paving, and other appropriating funds for the proposed subdivision to be located on Tract C-4. And this is the proposed subdivision before you, this replat. So this subdivision will create 87 new lots. Hilltop Properties will be responsible to connect each of these lots to city water, sewer, electric, and roads. They will be required to do this with a subdivision agreement between themselves, Hilltop Properties, and the City of Seward. Looking at the replat map on page, should be page 40, I believe. Lots 18 through 29 of Block 4, that's on the east side of the replat, are to be subdivided for townhouses. Seward City Code specifies that the minimum lot width for an individual townhouse is 12 feet. Lots 18 through 29 are either 30 feet or 40 feet, so all of them greater than 12 feet. Then the remaining lots of the proposed subdivision do meet the minimum lot size requirement of 6,000 square feet. All conditions of Seward City Code 16.01.015 conditions to plat were met. The property owners with 300 feet of the requested replat were notified of the proposed subdivision, and the property was posted with the public notice signage. City staff comments: there were no comments or concerns regarding this replat, and currently the zoning is single-family residential. The tract is 21.3 acres. The existing use of the land is that the parcel is vacant. Access to the proposed subdivision will be primarily from Phoenix Road and Olympia Road, and there will be 3 new 60-foot right-of-ways that will be built. One that will connect Phoenix Road to the corner of Olympia, and then 2 cul-de-sacs that will have access onto Olympia Road. According to Kenai Peninsula Borough flood map, the lots are not within the flood zone, and it is Community Development staff recommendation that the Commission approve Resolution 2023-001, recommending City Council and Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary replat of Gateway Subdivision, Addition Number 2, Tract C-4.
Okay. I'll open it to public hearing. Is anybody signed in?
Yes, ma'am. We have one. It's Carol Griswold.
Griswold inside city limits. I support the development of new housing in our community, but I have concerns about the high density of this preliminary plat and negative impacts on the surrounding neighborhoods and community. To help reduce the traffic, congestion, and noise, this subdivision should be platted for single-family lots. 87 additional lots is a huge subdivision. The adjacent Gateway subdivision along Doorway, Olympia Road, and Latouche Circle has 68 single-family homes. The new Phoenix Heights subdivision along Willard Way and Phoenix Road has a mixture of 35 single-family and multifamily lots. Traffic on Doorway and Phoenix is already a problem, a steep hill with lots of kids and no sidewalks. We have yet to see the additional impacts of the traffic from Phoenix Heights as it is still under development. As proposed, the Gateway Hilltop addition contains 55 single-family lots and 22 two-family lots. Another 7 lots are proposed for multifamily, 3+, with 12 platted for townhouses. With 1 to 2 vehicles per dwelling, this is a total of 132 to 366 vehicles, plus bicycles and pedestrians. Some of the hundreds of vehicles will be routed north on Afognak Avenue and through Forest Acres. Most of the traffic will be funneled south through dense neighborhoods along Olympia Road, Doorway, and Phoenix Road to the schools and town. The Phoenix-Seward Highway intersection is already compromised by the congestion of Port Avenue. Resurrection Boulevard is already busy with high school traffic. Vehicles wanting to turn off the highway will be backed up in the turn lane. There will be a huge impact from this new subdivision. Requiring all lots to be single-family will help reduce this impact. The pedestrian pathway on the south connects to the cross-country trail in the woods behind the high school tennis court. How will students, especially middle school and elementary school kids, get safely to school and back home? Will the pedestrian path be lit? What's the plan? As noted in my earlier email, many of these lots do not comply with city code. Seward Code defines the front lot width at the lot line. The borough uses the width at the 20-foot setback, which apparently this plat follows. The borough does not enforce city code, which is why it's important that Seward does. Following the development requirements is mandatory. 10 of the R1 lots do not have the required minimum 60-foot lot width. The townhouse development on 12 of the R3 lots is beyond my understanding. Notes: the 2 unnamed interior roads could follow the theme of ships for gateway subdivisions. The awkward merging of Phoenix with Olympia in the intersections needs to be addressed through the borough E911 system to avoid confusion. If the commission decides to recommend this preliminary plat to council, it should be noted that it is subject to the approval of the rezone. However, I hope the commission will help promote orderly growth and protect public safety and general welfare by denying this high-density plat. Thank you.
Is anyone else signed in?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is the applicant present? Okay.
I'd like to give my comment quickly if it's fine. Any questions you guys have? I don't know how that works, but Joe Dugas, inside city limits. Cole Peterson and I are partners in this development. We go to the council meeting, after council meeting, after council meeting, and everyone's beating the drum of housing and sewer. Being here the majority of my life, growing up on Doorway, running around with dozens of other kids that were my age and around my age up there, being close to the schools, walking every day, uphill both ways, was a fantastic childhood. And I've decided that I want to raise my family here, and 3 kids and growing. And having a spot in Seward that's geared toward residential housing in a spot that's near the schools is fairly near city utilities. The cost of development in conjunction with the contractor reimbursement program makes this development plausible. And it's not laid out and designed to be for nightly rentals or multi-million-dollar mansions. It's designed for families that want to live in Seward and be here. That's our goal of developing this area at the top of the hill. That's everything I have for public comments. And if there's any questions on this, or Cole or I are here to answer those.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. In like the regards to the pathway, Carol mentioned, are you planning on lighting that pathway? Because
It's been undiscussed.
Undiscussed.
But it wasn't a requirement, but that was something that, for that whole group of houses, like I said, I went up through a trail through the woods, which is all now got houses and duplexes and stuff like that on there. And we wanted to make sure that kids weren't getting shot at to stay off my lawn.
yeah, oh, I like the path. It makes sense. And
So we put it in there, but they're
okay,
real. And truthfully, I'm a little ignorant in the fact of it becomes a public right-of-way, and whose responsibility long-term is to maintain and do that sort of thing.
yeah, and I guess it also kind of depends on what's going around it. It's kind of hard. Well, we're in the beginning stages here, so if there was a lot of homes were tight on it, it could be really dark. But if there's open areas and there's light on Phoenix there, that might not particularly need lights. But I could see if it was,
Yeah, and that's something that, as the development moves forward, we do want to work with the schools, because it does go behind the schools and having good access down to, because that strip's fairly level than the high school and Mount Haven. Those sit lower, so there is going to have to be a trail or stairs.
Okay, yeah.
That goes down for people.
So there's going to obviously be quite a bit more planning on that walkway. Administration, we have a question for administration.
Okay.
In dealing with lighting on a path like that, in this particular instance, would it be best to bring this as a conditional use later on when this is a little further down the road?
Yeah, because when we go and talk actually the subdivision agreement, when we put that together with them and how that's going to be laid, that's where we can have those discussions.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously, we're hearing your comments now, and
Yeah.
and so, yeah, we can, that's all part of the plan is lighting.
Okay.
It's part of that, and so we are going to.
So we can-
Yeah.
We
And
can
that,
talk about it later.
yeah, and that once this is built and developed, since that is that will be a right of way, that's actually then becomes at least up until the point where it backs up to borough property, that will be the city's responsibility.
Okay, so we can address it later. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Peterson, do you have anything? No? Okay, well, any other comments from the commissioners? Anything? Oh, Carol, I'm sorry.
Did I have my 1 minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Carol Griswold, Inside City Limits. I totally agree with everything that Joe said. I just disagree with the high density parts, the R2 and R3. This would be a beautiful single-family flat. And that's what I would rather see. Thank you.
Okay, back to the commissioners. Bren?
I wanted to ask more about rights of way. I mean, this is like a really good time to establish rights of way while we're planning it out. And it just seems like because of congestion going north and south, I was wondering if there was a way to tie it in or put future plans to tie it in somewhere to alleviate some more congestion, potentially. I'm just looking at the map, but it's, somewhere near the schools or something, in addition to the pedestrian path, but if that's at all a possibility.
Mr. Tugas, Mr. Peterson, do you have any
I didn't
response?
hear your question.
I was wondering if there would be a way to put in plans for another right-of-way, if that's even possible, to connect, to alleviate congestion going south and north on those roads, onto some other roads to give people more options, if that's even a possibility with the train there or
Look at
anything.
all the roads up there and that backs up to all borough property.
It goes,
Schools.
it's Barrow, yeah.
And there are multiple routes, essentially just two, one to the north and one to the south, but you can also go around Doorway or up Phoenix, and then up through Forest Acres and Frontenac to the property. So it's a genuine,
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people who enjoy it.
You can't join that.
But there are multiple access.
Okay,
There's not really any other options for
thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else have anything to offer? No?
Well, I'm not real sure that it's necessarily something has to be done now, but maybe connecting Sea Line Avenue into Phoenix, which would have to go through the school right along the property line of this sewer, the city's sewer property, and Kenai Borough School property, which may not be such a good idea, putting a lot of traffic right in the school zone either, though. I seen that was an option there, but it may be something to be discussed later on. But yeah, I'm not real sure what that going in there with all our kids out there either. Maybe it's just better to keep them in the addition.
Okay,
Yeah, I like it's nice that we're getting 60-foot roads on this. That's really important. As for congestion, houses are going in, it is going to be an issue, especially coming down Dora, because Dora is not wide enough. But there's really nothing to be done with that. It's already put in. I think that congestion in the roads, there's no real way to change any of it, and I think that the subdivision is doing the best they can to put in the wide roads and make it work as well as it can work. Ultimately, I do love all R1. However, I do know that the town also needs a little to diversify in certain areas. Not everybody can afford an R1, and
exactly.
it is kind of nice to have. I do like that there's a lot of R1 in this, and I do see a place for some of these higher densities on the bottom, even though, I'm an R1 person.
We know that.
But yeah, I said it looks good. It's pretty good.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? No?
I'm just to put it out there, if there's gonna be a pathway and it's right by the schools, when you have families moving in there, if the kids are in middle school and high school, a lot of them are gonna wanna walk to school, right? So is the school congestion gonna be that bad? Because I know I have one in middle school and two in high school, and they'd rather walk if they could than take the bus. Well, except in the winter. I'm just saying, so I don't think the school traffic's gonna be that. I don't know.
We won't know till it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But subdivision's it looks like they're doing the best
Absolutely.
that they can to
Absolutely.
alleviate it. There's no other way to route a road, and we're getting proper road widths, so,
We're getting something done with the lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a definite need. R1 homes, whether it's R1, R2, or R3, we're having those problems. And 22 acres of land, or just about 22 acres of land, is a significant piece of terrain to be building on. So it does look like a lot, but and it may in fact be. But these homes will go up, and it's not all of a sudden everybody's going to land and move into these homes all at one time. It's going to be a progression. And I think people will have an opportunity to, maybe they'll find another way to, something will present itself that they can open up and, alleviate some of the congestion if it winds up being a lot of congestion in the long run. But I think it's a great step in the right direction. I'm super pleased over the fact that you guys have stepped up to the plate, because there's been a dearth of homes that people are actually willing to go into, and you're creating an environment that people can readily move into, as well as being close to the schools, which was one of the biggest concerns. Was teachers can't get a home, and so they don't take jobs, and so it just snowballs from there. And I think this is getting into the right direction. So if anybody has anything else?
I just have one more comment. I mean, if we're going to encourage or try to stop like congestion stuff, I think we should try to encourage more walking then, and maybe this is a good time to ask for sidewalks or such to get access to this path, from all these places, unless we want kids walking on the road. Just a thought for the commission.
There aren't any sidewalks anywhere else. They would only really be able to walk out of the neighborhood, but not, once they hit the main streets, it wouldn't,
It's gotta start somewhere.
You got sidewalks in town.
There's a few in town.
Yeah.
I grew up out in the country, so I was on the road always.
So, and I don't know when that discussion, that might be in the subdivision agreement, or that might be at a different time to discuss that. I don't know, but that's, right now we're just looking at the plat.
Well, are the right-of-ways large enough for sidewalks as is my question.
I don't know.
Is anybody?
Administration.
Yeah, a 60-foot right-of-way is normally large enough for
Just
a
right.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Are all the right-of-ways about 60 feet? Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of the standard, but obviously we know, like in Doorway, that's not always been the case.
Okay. All right. Okay, anybody else? Anyone else? Okay. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2023-001. Skaggs?
May I request to be off of it since I got to do it on the borough side? Since I'll be voting at the borough level, should I hold off here so that I can?
I don't know if
I'll be
there's
up there.
a necessarily a protocol thing. You're voting here in the town, and then it's not like you're
then yes.
benefiting or anything like that.
Yes, that,
Okay.
I'll just alert them that I voted on the city level also.
Oh, okay, all right. Because you're in that unique position, let me just mention that if you think that you're gonna have a conflict,
Yep.
you need to maybe declare that before you engage in debate.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
if you have a conflict, then you're not supposed to.
Okay.
So
Well,
just
I
keep
would
it in
want to
mind
vote
for-
on this level then.
Okay, and so Staggs?
yes.
Yeah. Hornseth,
Yes.
Monaco,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
and Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Okay. Okay, the next public hearing item is Resolution 2023-002. Madam Clerk, could you read that title into the record?
Resolution 2023-002 is recommending City Council approval of the land use amendment to rezone proposed Gateway subdivision, Hilltop Addition, lots 32 through 48, block 6, and lots 31 through 35, block 4, from single-family residential zoning district to two-family residential zoning district, and to rezone proposed lots 17 through 30, block 4, from single-family residential zoning district to multifamily zoning district.
Okay, thank you. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-002.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, administration, do you have any comments?
Yes, so if you look at page 52, you'll see the proposed zoning map. So lots 17 through 30 in block 4 will be rezoned from single-family residential to multifamily residential. And these lots are adjacent to an R3 zoning district just south of it. Then lots 31 through 31 through 35 in Block 4, and lots 32 through 48 in Block 6, which are just directly across the street from lots 31 through 35, will be rezoned from single-family residential to two-family residential. And, you know, when we have multiple zoning districts next to each other, we want to see, you know, a gradual change between zoning districts, between, you know, the low density and the high density. So this is an appropriate gradual change from, you know, R3 into an R2 zone to then an R1 zone. Then the R1 lots do meet the required 6,000 square feet minimum lot size, as well as the R2 lots. The R3 lots are an interesting situation since these will be used, well, these 18 through 29 will be used for townhouses, which code does not specify a required square footage size for each individual townhouse lot, just a minimum width of 12 feet. However, this plat is designed to have only 4 contiguous townhouses together, and that structure of 4 contiguous townhouses would be on 4 lots, which would have a total square footage of approximately 18,000 square feet, which would meet that minimum of 9,000 square feet that's required for a multifamily dwelling. So that's how we've analyzed and reviewed the square footage requirement for those townhouse lots in that R3 district. City staff had no comments regarding this rezone, and property owners within 300 feet of the proposed rezoning action were notified of the public hearing. And community development staff recommends that the commission approves resolution 2023-002, recommending city council approve amending the land use plan and rezone the proposed Gateway subdivision Hilltop addition, lots 32 through 48, block 6, and lots 31, 35, block 4 from single-family residential to two-family residential, and lots 17 through 30, block 4 from single-family residential to multifamily residential.
Thank you. I'll open it up now to public hearing. Has anybody signed in?
Yes, ma'am. We have one. It's Carol Griswold.
Would it be possible to show the zoning map for this public hearing?
We don't actually have it, I don't think, for that area.
Oh, we don't?
Just this one was produced for last night's city council meeting.
No, we have.
Do you have the other one back there?
Yeah, it should be behind it. Well, I know, I got that too, but we have these wonderful maps, it's just, for every rezone, it'd be nice to see it.
Might not be that big though.
I know you put a lot of effort into these maps, it'd be nice to use them.
Yeah, it's,
See part of it.
yeah, it's up through this
Yeah.
area down here.
Yeah.
Small, but it's
So
there.
it's small.
Okay.
So that's the
Oh, all right.
very good question.
It was just a okay, Carol Griswold, Inside City Limits. Recommending an amendment to the land use plan is a significant change that merits a thorough discussion and evaluation. Rezone should not be approved without consideration of the facts, especially to determine if this is an illegal spot zone. Consider the following factors in addition to the limited requirement that the rezone is over 1 acre, as supported by the Alaska Supreme Court, but certainly supersedes the outdated Seward Code. 1. Are the rezones supported by the comprehensive land use plan and future land use maps, the only binding elements of the comp plan? No. These rezones will not bring the lots into conformance. 2. Relative size. The size of the R2 and R3 tracts are small in relation to the R1 tract. There is no R2 nearby. 3. Are there special characteristics present on the site to justify zoning it differently? None. 4, what are the benefits and detriments to the landowners, the neighbors, and the community? Will the landowners be seriously harmed if it is denied? Will the neighbors and community at large be harmed or benefit if it is denied? Consider the negative effects of on the character of the surrounding neighborhood and traffic engine and congestion impacts to the community versus the real and substantial benefits to the community. Is there broad community support for the rezoning? The majority of the property owners in the area to be amended sounds impressive, but it's only 2 people, the owners. I'm opposed to the rezone from R1 to R2 and R3. Please deny this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else signed in?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The applicants, please.
Judge Goose, considering this. The R3 in this portion of development, lot 17 was in odd shape because there's a small jogging road there. So we couldn't start the townhome units any lower. And then by putting the pedestrian pathway in there, it made kind of an odd 2 small lots. So we opted to combine those and make one single larger lot that would abut pre-existing R3. And then moving north from there, lots 18 through 30, 29, have to be zoned R3 in order to put a townhome on them. These are designed to be single-family homes and not multi-family homes, but in a townhome setting. So 0 lot line, all in one building, but everybody would have their own lot. So that was the reason for carrying R3 up to lot 28. The R2 from lots 29 through 35 and then 32 through 48 was designed to be more of a transition. Our goal in this is single-family homes. We left the majority of them as existing R1, but they're already above R3 property, and making more lots that are still going to be single family but in a townhome setting, we thought was an interesting opportunity for Seward. There's only been a few places that have done that, and people seem to really enjoy their space in those. And then also the R2 lots have a lot of limitations to overnight rentals and things like that, so we thought that was a good thing to have here and not try to put too many R3s in. But it does give a diversification of, instead of having 87 of the exact same thing, there is some opportunity for 2-family and townhome settings in this spot. And it still leaves 51 lots that are remain as apartment.
Anybody else have any? Okay. Commissioner?
Yeah, I had a quick question for Joe. Did you say lot 29 and 30 were R2 or R3?
29.
You may want to stand up here. I'm not sure if I'm recording on that, so people can hear you. Sorry.
My printer printed off black and white, so.
That's helpful.
29 is R3. That is the end, so on the end of the townhomes, they require an additional 10-foot setback. So that's why it's 40, 30, 30, 40, all the way up. And so that last 40-foot lot is the end of the R3, and then lot 30 would be the start of the R2.
Okay, because I have lot 30 as
Being a
R3 on my paperwork.
Yeah.
But do you
Which,
want that to just be R2?
Guess I didn't have the color code in front of me. I guess that's everything.
based on its square footage, I feel like it probably needs to be R2.
Well, so that's another thing, is even if that was zoned R3, there's, to do anything more than a duplex, it needs 9,000 square feet,
Yep.
so it wouldn't qualify, even if it did change to an R3.
Yeah.
It wouldn't change.
Change to an
It
R2.
would be more than a duplex.
All right, so it is, 30 is an R3. Our paperwork is correct.
Okay. Anything else?
I just have a quick question. Where would parking be for lot 18 through 30? Because they seem real small, and if you have a pickup or,
They would
How
all be
are you gonna do
directly in
parking?
front of the building. They're all 120-foot depth on the lots. So they would, the townhomes would be built length of it, and just like all the other homes that would be built up here, they'd be set back from the road. To allow
so parking
out
should be
front.
ready for, okay.
So a 20-foot, I guess the narrow ones at 30 feet would be enough for 3 parking spots in front of each one.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners, anything else?
Well, like I said before, I do like to see this all R1. However, the progression is nice. And there are R3s in the subdivision just below it. And the different usage for people in their different stages of life is kind of nice to have a duplex or a condo before a main home, so.
I think it offers, yeah, I concur. I think it offers a transition well enough, because obviously the townhomes will be probably less expensive, and they'll provide a variation of options for people who can afford certain things versus others. Yeah, it does, appears that it might be sort of, somewhat congested. I don't know about landscaping or anything else, that might be in a whole nother kind of thing, but being able to put on there so people can, so it's not just so rigid, because there's several townhomes in the downtown area here, and there's not a whole lot of landscaping. It would be nice to have that to keep that consistent with the area that's up there, because the places that were built fairly recently, I don't know where it's south or however its relationship to this is, that there's virtually nothing there, and it is it's not the most attractive, and I think we'd like to try to keep a little bit of that in our mind in terms of, it's great putting stuff in, but people like have some of the aesthetics for that as well. Commissioners, anybody have anything else?
We had a unit going in on Dunham, and I recall there being an issue with parking on that property. Seeing how we could get enough parking spaces in there, and then there was even issues brought up about trash, and I was wondering, these spaces look to be smaller than what that gentleman had on Dunham, and it was trying to figure out how we could fit everything in there. And I'm not real sure about the townhomes, how that would fit in, but it looks like the townhome would still be a triplex. There was a triplex on Dunham, I believe, is what we ended up approving. So do we have any issues with trash maintenance or anything there?
Well, I think right now we're just looking at the zoning change, and as we move forward into potentially having something be there, that would be in the builder's responsibility to have the proper parking, the proper trash, all of that. I think right now we're just looking at the zoning.
Well, when I'm looking at this, as I'm saying, or should we zone something R3 if it's not big enough to be an R1? That's what, and is there, maybe there is enough space. I'd have to go back and see where we was at on his.
but I recall there being, I was surprised what we was able to get done, or what he was able to get done on that property. These look to be smaller.
Well, don't know if we know what's going in on these, and so I feel that since we're just looking at the zoning, it's the builder's responsibility later. He drew these lots up with a particular plan, it's their responsibility to come up with those issues and fit what they responsibly can put in that spot. I don't think this time right now is the time to deal with that.
From what I also understand, these lots are significant, exceed what is required for that, and in comparison, and Courtney had provided, if you want to expand on what you provided earlier regarding the existing townhomes, what we have in town versus what this would look like in the variation, the significant size difference.
Yeah, so existing townhouse lots in town, there's a couple examples that there's one where the center lots are only 22.5 feet wide. And those are the smallest ones in town, and the smallest ones here are 30. So these ones are 7.5 feet larger. But then in town, there's also another townhouse section with 16-foot wide lots, which is nearly half the size of these. But also, an important thing to note is that these lots would need a conditional use permit before building anything, whether it's townhouses or, if the townhouses, aren't what gets chosen to be put in there, a multifamily dwelling would still need CUP. So the commission would have the opportunity at that point to then look at more details, to actually see a site plan with the structure on it and where parking will be outlined. But these townhouse lots, as platted right here, are larger than any of the townhouse lots in the city currently. And the references that you made to Dunham Drive, those are not townhouse lots, so it's
Triplexes.
a little hard to compare exactly, since what you're looking at is the divided lots for townhouses, which doesn't take into account that whole parcel of land that multifamily dwelling structure would go on.
All right, I understand.
And that's a good thing about the CUP, because we'd have to have an opportunity to evaluate those individually. And that's when we can articulate some of the requirements that you were, looking at, and that might preclude the challenge that those other places would have. Any other comments from the commissioners? Anything? Okay, then I will go ahead and call for the vote. Madam Clerk?
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2023-002, Charbonneau,
Yes.
Monaco,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. The next for public hearing is Resolution 2023-003. Madam Clerk, could you read that into the record?
Resolution 2023-003 is recommending Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary replat of Jesse Lee Heights subdivision, Lot 6 and 7, Block 1, located at 206 and 208 Great Bear Circle, moving the interior lot line further to the east to resolve a shed encroachment issue, creating Jesse Lee Heights Great Bear Addition, lots 6A and 7A, Block 1.
Okay, thank you. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-003.
I'll second that.
Okay. Administration, has some comments.
Yes. So the plat map on page 64 shows how the interior lot line will be adjusted. It's a little easier to see what that change will be if you have the imagery map on page 60 along with the plat map on page 64. But this plat in action does not create any new parcels of land. Lot 6 is simply being increased by about 1,893 square feet and will be renamed to be known as Lot 6A, Block 1. And then Lot 7 will decrease in size and become known as Lot 7. And this plat in action, like it says in the name, is simply to move the lot line over to address an encroachment issue of a shed that belongs to Lot 6 that is currently on Lot 7 property. And city staff had no comments regarding this replat, and property owners within 300 feet were notified. Public notice signs were posted on the property, and community development staff recommends commission approve resolution 2023-03, recommending Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the preliminary replat of Jesse Lee Heights subdivision lots 6 and 7, block 1, located at 206 and 208 Great Bear Circle.
Okay, thank you. It's so complicated. I'll open it to public hearing. Is anybody signed in?
Yes, ma'am, we have one. It's Jackie Wild.
Jackie Wild, Inside City Limits. We are the owners of 206 Great Bear Circle, and this is a pretty straightforward plat. It is just shearing up the property on our side as well as the other side. Pretty straightforward. Any questions you have, we're glad to answer them if you have anything regarding this.
Well, does anybody have any questions? Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like both parties are in favor, and it looks like it's not going to affect any other properties, so I don't see a problem. It seems like a perfectly fine idea.
I concur.
That's good. All righty. Well, I guess I'll close the public hearing. So do we have any other comments from the commission? Anybody else? No, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, well then I'll go ahead and close. I'll ask for the vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2023-003, Monaco,
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Great. Okay, now we got those done. We'll move on to, I guess, unfinished business, and it looks like we don't have any, which is nice. And no new business, but we do have other business items. We've, let's see, we have a meeting, what is our, let's see, we have the agenda is, shoot, I got this here. Well, I guess we need to set our topic for the January 24th work session. I guess that's the next one here. I lost my note on that. Jason, Courtney, anything on that?
Yeah, we were just going to continue to have basically take the last work session agenda that we didn't hold, obviously didn't have a quorum, and just bring that one over. I think we still need to address those meeting land plan issues of the Spring Creek and 4th of July Beach, and I think there was some other Title 15, a little bit of Title 15 work in there as well that we'd like to continue for that. And I just also wanted to mention too that it was not on here, but we do have another, the day before that meeting for our next agenda on the 23rd is we do have the special meeting for commissions that takes place before the city council meeting. And so planning and zoning is first up that night. And that's how they do every year at the beginning of the year. They meet with all the commissions, and so we are scheduled to meet with them on the 23rd.
On the 23rd?
As well.
Are we going to be providing a summary of our, like we've done before, the summary of our prior
Yep.
actions throughout the, was it just the quarter or is it for the year?
For the year.
the year.
So all those quarterly reports that you've kind of approved and looked through, we combine those, and those will be on there.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll brief those.
Yep.
I also wanted to ask a question about the comprehensive plan. We're supposed to be doing an annual review of those, and I don't think that's happened. Is there a best time to get that started to look at? Because I think that's, I think the last time it was looked at was 2017, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and that is something that we are going to bring back. So NCODA does say that we do need to have one public hearing on the comprehensive plan every year. And we are discussing it with the city manager. We feel like doing the comprehensive plan, like it's good to have a public hearing every year, but like the gaps of 10 years is actually really too long to be addressing it on the long term. And so we will definitely be having the public hearing. I probably will be on that and touch on that soon this spring, but we want to look at kind of doing shorter reviews every 5 years instead of these, especially in the last 5 years, the world has changed pretty significantly. And so, but yeah, we do want to do that, and then and have that public hearing and make sure that we're doing that on an annual basis.
Well, that's helpful because it's, as we do the municipal land plan, that has to sort of like dovetail with that as well.
Yep.
And so if you're just rolling down the road with the muni land plan and forget about the comprehensive and strategic plan, then it sort of gets out of sync with itself. I think,
Yeah.
a little bit.
And the strategic plan is coming up as well, and that has not been redone, I think, since like the 80s or 90s. So it's been a little while.
A couple of these people weren't born yet, I don't think. So, okay, well, I think we're done with business unless I've forgotten anything else right here. Any other comments from anybody here for response to anybody in the audience? Anybody have anything?
I'd always want to thank the
Citizen comments first. Okay, I was going to slide onto that. Okay, citizens' comments first. Okay. Ms. Wild?
First, I want to say Jackie Wild, Inside City Limits. Thank you for the approval of our lot line adjustment. I'm going to put my other hat on, my previous hat. There's a couple things that I just want to point out, and congratulations on the rezone and the replat. But there are at least 6 community development grants that the city should be working forward towards to have sidewalks. They're there. Use them. Help take some of the costs off of the developer by adding a safety feature. They're easy, they're searchable, and it's a good thing. Even though Seward doesn't have sidewalks, you want them. You want to be safe. You don't want to have narrow areas that kids could be hit in. And you want to have a walkable subdivision. And if you're able to help a developer, it helps with the cost of everything else. I'd like to see and understand, I was told by our surveyor that action items that are coming forward have a 30-day wait from the Community Development Department for signatures. And you put 30 days on a plat, you put 30 days on any type of subdivision, you're adding an additional 90 days to anything that is going to be approved through the Community Development Department as well as your borough. And so it was shocking to hear that it's taking 30 days for signatures to be put on pieces of paper that you approved the night before. So I'd like to see that come back to where it's back in your hands and you can get the signatures and get it to the proper departments as needed, because it holds up development all around. And then I'd like to see that the commission have the ability to do some training. You guys are doing really great. It's just, they're all new. You have new people and boy, give them a little training. They have a budget for it, get them out there. And they can help the community by being better informed. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Carol?
Carol Griswold, Inside City Limits. I concur with the training, and I would like to encourage some of that training to include spot zoning. Our code is really far behind, and you're doing a lot of important rezones without consideration of the updated factors and requirements to determine if it's a legal spot zone or an illegal spot zone. And I just question if R2 is a legal spot zone. There's nothing else around it. And those factors I went through, I can't train you on the spot, and I'm not qualified to train you on the spot. But it's really important to know about spot zoning. And I'm really surprised that you let a preliminary plat go through with 10 R1 lots that do not meet the mandatory development requirements of 60-foot width. And it's important to follow our code, it's mandatory. So I'm kind of surprised that you let that go past. And as I mentioned, when it goes to the borough does not enforce Seward City Code. We're a first-class city, and we can do things differently from the borough, but that's our code, and we should follow our development requirements. And I'd just like to express disappointment that that wasn't upheld in this preliminary plan. Thank you.
All right, anybody else have anything? No? Well, now I'll go to the board, and we have commissioner comments. Brennan? Anything?
Thank the public for showing up and giving us a lot of feedback. It's always very helpful, and administration too for all your hard work. And yeah, I'm doing my best job here, and I will definitely do some more training.
Nathaniel?
I just want to thank administration and the citizens as well.
Dory?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for coming out and, speaking your word and letting us know what you think and and I always enjoy listening to you. I told you that the other day. You're so informative, so.
Okay. Troy?
Thank you guys for taking on the project to build an addition in there, so we definitely can use it. Whatever happens, it's good. More housing is better than none. So, thank you guys.
And I'd like to, before I turn it over to Jason and Courtney, I definitely want to thank you guys for stepping up and doing what you can here, because it was pretty rough there for a while with all the other subdivisions or quasi-subdivisions that people were trying to do something with and they were unable to do, whether it was the Hemlock thing and the rest. That was all a bit of a challenge, and you took a whole new area that can be developed a little bit. I appreciate Carol highlighting those other items that we'll certainly have to take a look at some of that, unaware of some of those. And Jackie, I appreciate most definitely your input and your words of experience that you've had for all those years. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Jason, Courtney?
Thank you all for being here. It's nice to have such a big quorum.
Yeah, and I just want to say thanks for all your work and last night again. I just want to thank you, Jackie. I do appreciate that community development grants for sidewalks. That's good information. It's always lots of stuff out there, and it's hard to find it all. And I know that that has happened a few times with the 30 days on signatures, but I know that's not the way. Just wanted to explain that. I think it's with people being here and people being not. So it normally doesn't take us 30 days for signatures. And we actually we did discuss trainings recently. When Courtney and I met with a couple of the commissioners, and we did do 2 trainings this last year. We had one come down here, and that was more of legality, Open Meetings Act, that kind of stuff training. And then we did the American Planning training, and they did have American Planning Association from Anchorage Planning Association, Alaska Planning Association. And that was virtual this last year when it was not. Could have been done better, and it was a struggle, and so we're hoping they're doing that in person this year, and so because we do really value training, and we feel it's important, so we'll continue to do that as we go forward.
Yeah, well, I thank you for all of that, because with us getting training, then we can make it a lot easier for you guys as well, because it's a heavy lift. You guys have to drag us along a little bit and try to educate us at the same time as we're trying to make decisions across the board. So we appreciate all that you do as well. Thanks. Okay, if nobody has anything else, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:09.